Let me share a significant update to a story I posted about my entitled sisters and their outrageous behavior regarding my vacation home. While the original events took place a few months ago, recent developments have added new layers to this family drama. I'm Nathan Chen, a 35-year-old software architect living in Silicon Valley with my wife Olivia. We've built a comfortable life through hard work and smart investments, something that has become a source of tension with my older sisters, Rebecca and Ashley. The core of this story revolves around them demanding access to my mountain vacation property, a place I originally bought for our parents, Robert and Patricia. When I refused their unreasonable demands, things escalated in ways I never imagined possible. It started when our parents decided to host a summer barbecue at their home. Despite my reservations about spending time with Rebecca, Ashley, and their husbands, given our strained relationship, Olivia convinced me we should go. "Your parents really want us there," she said, always the diplomatic one. "We can leave early if things get uncomfortable." By the time we arrived, around 20 people were already there. Rebecca and Ashley, along with their husbands, were noticeably intoxicated. Mom was occupied trying to manage my nieces and nephews, aged between 7 and 11, while Dad had strategically retreated to the whirlpool section of the pool with his beer cooler. Olivia and I made polite conversation with the other guests, enjoying some food and frozen margaritas. But my sisters couldn't resist taking shots at us. "Nice of you to finally show up," Rebecca commented sarcastically. "You couldn't even bother to bring swimsuits?" Ashley added. "Way to kill the vibe." I chose to ignore their comments, typical behavior for our suburban summer gatherings. However, things took a turn when two of the kids pushed one of the neighbor guests into the pool. She was fortunately near the steps and only got partially wet, but she was clearly upset. Rather than make a scene, she quietly gathered her things and left. My sisters and their husbands found this hilarious. I was less amused, especially when I noticed 3 of the kids eyeing me with mischief. They charged at me full speed, but I simply stepped aside at the last moment. All 3 ran straight into the pool. While most guests, including Olivia and I, couldn't help but laugh at the kids' failed attempt, my intoxicated sisters completely lost it. It turned out 2 of the children couldn't even swim, despite being in swimsuits and at a pool party. Since I wasn't dressed for swimming, I stepped back and let others help the kids out. The children were crying hysterically, acting as if they'd been mortally wounded. That's when all hell broke loose. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Rebecca screamed at me. "They could have drowned. You think this is funny?" Ashley joined in, her face red with anger. "Their phones were recording everything. Those iPhones are at the bottom of the pool now." Their husbands, just as drunk and angry, started yelling too. Rebecca's husband, his designer polo shirt soaked, attempted to retrieve the phones from the pool. But between his considerable size and blood alcohol level, he was just splashing around uselessly. No one else volunteered to help, especially with my sister still berating everyone in sight. I finally had enough. "It's your job to watch your own kids," I said firmly. "If anything had happened, that would be on you, not me." The situation deteriorated into a heated exchange of words. The final straw came when Ashley's husband, attempting to join the argument, lost his balance and face planted while yelling at us. Olivia gave me a look that said it all. It was time to leave. Now they're claiming I should have just let their kids push me in and have their fun, even if it meant ruining my phone and clothes. Meanwhile, Dad never left his strategic position in the whirlpool, seeming content to watch the drama unfold from a safe distance. Looking back, I understand these were just kids being kids. Their behavior reflects more on their parents than themselves. I wish we'd stuck to our initial instinct and skipped the gathering. While it's always nice to see our parents and their neighbors, I genuinely dislike spending time with my sisters and their husbands. They don't even try to hide their envy of our lifestyle, and being around them is emotionally draining. Let me explain why my relationship with my sisters has always been complicated. Being 8 and 10 years younger than Rebecca and Ashley, we never developed a close bond. I also have little in common with their husbands. They're decent enough guys, but our interests and values couldn't be more different. The real tension stems from lifestyle differences. Both my sisters are stay-at-home moms, and while their husbands make good money, Ashley's husband actually earns more than my $180,000 salary. Both Olivia and I have successful careers in tech. Being child-free and financially responsible has allowed us to build a substantial investment portfolio and enjoy luxuries like regular vacations. This lifestyle disparity clearly bothers them. Rebecca, especially, can't stand seeing us drive our well-maintained cars while she deals with sticky seats and scattered toys. Our ability to take nice trips once or twice a year particularly grates on them. Their petty behavior has become a constant undercurrent in our interactions. The pool incident marked a turning point. While driving home, I noticed Olivia was unusually quiet. She's typically more forgiving of my siblings than I am, but her patience had clearly reached its limit. "I think we need to set some boundaries," she finally said. "This isn't healthy for any of us." Dad, ever the chill retired sales executive, had maintained his position in the whirlpool throughout the chaos, watching the scene unfold with two other guests. He's always loved hosting and seeing people enjoy themselves, embracing his retirement years fully. However, Mom was deeply upset by the whole situation. As for the kids, they were fine. By the time we left, they were inside watching TV, seemingly forgotten about their pool mishap. The three who had tried their kamikaze run on me were 9 and 10 years old, likely egged on by their 11-year-old cousin, the usual ringleader of such schemes. My parents' love for entertaining hasn't diminished with age. They have what everyone calls the perfect entertaining house, and are always finding reasons to bring people together. This particular gathering was actually a makeup for missing 4th of July celebrations, complete with flags, patriotic decorations, and a margarita machine. They had even promised sparklers to the kids, though my nieces and nephews were the only children present among the older neighbors. Some clarification emerged about the pool incident. According to my parents, all my nieces and nephews are actually competent swimmers who use the pool regularly. Even the youngest, at 7, is comfortable in the water, though still learning. Rebecca had apparently lied about their swimming abilities just to make me look bad. I should note that while none of the kids are allowed in the deep end, which is exactly where they'd fallen in, it wasn't nearly as dangerous as my sisters made it out to be. The ones who tried to push me in were the two 10-year-olds and the 9-year-old. The party had ended quite badly after we left. Rebecca's husband, who'd face planted while yelling at us, needed stitches at urgent care. Dad, clearly annoyed, had to drive him there since he was too drunk to drive himself. Later that evening, Rebecca started a group text that quickly turned ugly. Both husbands joined in with their own nasty comments. Olivia and I immediately blocked all 4 of them. Mom called me later, clearly distressed about the text messages. She and Dad had been included in the chat. In response, my parents insisted that my sisters and their husbands come over the next day, Sunday, without the kids for what Mom called getting some things straight and laying down ground rules. The result was a reluctant apology from my siblings, delivered via Mom's phone. Thank goodness Olivia was with me during that call. Her stern looks kept me from saying what I really wanted to. I simply said thanks and indicated there was no need for further discussion. Thinking things had settled, I unblocked them. That evening, I received a text from one of the brothers-in-law demanding payment for their damaged phones, listing a specific amount. I responded with a simple, "Never," took a screenshot of his message, and forwarded it to my parents with a note saying we were done with this nonsense. We decided to go no contact with my sisters and their spouses, requesting not to be invited to any more family gatherings where they'd be present. Then I blocked them all again. That's when things really exploded. Dad called my sisters and, as they say, ripped them a new one. Among other things, he banned their kids from visiting indefinitely. A significant blow since Mom regularly provides free childcare. But the real bombshell came when he revealed that Olivia and I, not he and Mom, actually owned the vacation house. He also revoked their privileges to use it. This revelation completely devastated them. Both families had been using the place extensively, often inviting their friends for weekend getaways. This reaction from my parents was completely out of character. They're typically very laid back, but they'd clearly reached their limit. For context, I never wanted my sisters to know about our ownership of the property. We'd bought it for our parents. It had always been their dream to have a mountain getaway. Keeping the ownership quiet was our way of avoiding exactly this kind of drama with my siblings. A couple of days later, my sisters and their husbands showed up unannounced at our house to apologize in person. We were out to dinner, so they left a note. One sister even tried calling me at work. I sent her straight to voicemail. We've decided that maintaining no contact is the best approach for the indefinite future. It's been over 3 weeks now without any interaction. Personally, I'm done. They can go pound sand. The past month of no contact has brought an unexpected peace to our lives. I hadn't realized how much ongoing low-level drama they created. While they're not completely toxic people, their constant pettiness and neediness had become exhausting. Regarding the weekend place, I personally don't mind them using it. Though it's technically ours, we bought it for my parents, who control its use when they're not there. We cover all operating costs and taxes, but the day-to-day management has always been up to them. One positive outcome from this blow-up is clarity about the property's future. While I was prepared to take over managing it eventually, allocating weekends and maintaining it, we now know we'll simply sell it when my parents are older. If we want to visit the mountains, we can always rent an Airbnb. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, they did. My brothers-in-law broke into my vacation home and were arrested. They're now facing charges for breaking and entering, destruction of property, and communicating threats, all Class 1 misdemeanors. I've refused to drop the charges unless they pay for all the damage they caused. As of Saturday evening, they were still in jail. Things had seemed to calm down. We hadn't heard from my sisters in over 6 weeks. My parents had even spent a pleasant week at the house. David, the property manager I hired, had been working out great, sending weekly photos of wildlife or sunsets that were actually making me eager to visit. The day after Thanksgiving, my brothers-in-law went to the vacation home. They used an angle grinder to cut through the chain on the driveway gate, damaging it in the process. After failing to break through the front door, which they managed to gouge badly and destroy the lock set, they finally got in through the utility floor door and a locked internal door. They even broke into the barn for some reason. When they exited through the front door, they found themselves face to face with sheriff's deputies and David. Thanks to our camera system, David had seen everything unfold and immediately called law enforcement. According to him, they tried to talk their way out of it, but the deputies weren't buying it. Breaking into an empty house is taken very seriously in that area. Usually, it's meth addicts who ransack places and steal everything. During their arrest, they completely lost it, threatening to beat the hell out of me. Not the smartest thing to say in front of police officers. David and the sheriff's office tried reaching us, but we were spending the day with Olivia's parents and had left our phones in the car to enjoy some peace. The arrest set off a chain reaction. My sisters, upon getting calls from their jailed husbands, completely freaked out. They called our parents, tried reaching me, still blocked, and attempted to find a lawyer in that rural area. No easy task during a holiday weekend. My older sister Rebecca had no cash and maxed out cards, meaning Ashley would have had to cover bail for both husbands. By Saturday afternoon, they were still in jail. Olivia and I didn't check our phones until late Friday on our way back from her parents' house. The mood shift was immediate. My previous good spirits evaporated as I saw the flood of calls and messages from Mom, Dad, David, and the sheriff's department. While Olivia read through the texts and messages, I tried to process what was happening. After getting home, I attempted to control my anger but failed miserably. David's rundown of the damage only fueled my rage. I ended Friday by calling the sheriff's department, making it clear there was no misunderstanding. They had absolutely no right to be on my property, and I wanted to press charges. I waited until Saturday afternoon to call my parents. They were both shaken, especially Mom. My sisters had been pressuring them to convince me to tell the police it was all a mistake and drop the charges. "Nathan, honey," Mom said through tears, "can't we find another way to resolve this?" I firmly refused, explaining I wouldn't consider anything until I'd spoken with an attorney and received full payment for the damages. The conversation ended with Mom crying harder, which made me feel terrible despite knowing I wasn't in the wrong. Dad suggested a fresh start might be possible, but agreed they should pay for the damage. I haven't gone to inspect the property yet. There's nothing I can do, and seeing the damage in person would probably push me over the edge. The photos are bad enough. I've reached out to 2 attorney friends for recommendations on lawyers who can help me pursue legal action against my sisters and their husbands. I'm looking into getting restraining orders. All their harassing texts might help with that. I'm also considering suing them for the money they made from illegally renting out the property. The cash isn't important to me, but making them as miserable as possible has become a priority. Some important details. My brothers-in-law had no idea about the property manager or cameras, though there are clear signs posted about video monitoring and no trespassing. My parents knew but kept quiet, knowing it would just give my sisters more ammunition for drama. Olivia has completely had it. She's been incredibly patient throughout this whole ordeal, but this was her breaking point. "You handle this however you need to," she told me, "but they need to face serious consequences this time. The consequences might extend beyond legal troubles. While my older sister's husband's job might be safe, my middle sister's husband has a security clearance that could be at risk. I'm hoping that might motivate him to pay for the damages immediately." David, our caretaker, has an interesting backstory I recently learned. I'd assumed his friendship with the deputies was just small-town connections, but he's actually a former big city cop who left the force after being shot in the line of duty. He moved to where his parents had retired, dealing with some PTSD. His constant companion, a certified service dog, helps him cope. I'm torn between never wanting to see or speak to these people again and my overwhelming urge to make their lives as miserable as possible. The exhaustion from this ongoing drama is really setting in, but my anger keeps me focused on seeking justice. Looking back, people have suggested I should have taken a harder stance from the beginning. I avoided it to spare my parents the stress, but they're stressed out now anyway. Olivia has essentially opted out of any further involvement, saying it's in my hands now. She'll listen to me vent, but I sense she's done with the whole situation beyond that. A surprising turn of events came Thursday afternoon when I received a courier-delivered envelope at my office. Inside was a signed letter from both brothers-in-law and a cashier's check for $5,000. The letter contained what seemed to be a genuinely sincere apology. They acknowledged their break-in, admitted their wrongdoing, and offered the money to cover damages, promising to pay more if needed. They pledged to stay away from the vacation home, unless specifically invited by Olivia and me. They also requested help in getting the charges dropped, explaining they could both lose their jobs, and agreed to accept a restraining order or any other conditions we set. This complete reversal in their behavior left me stunned. I already had an appointment with an attorney about pursuing legal action, but this development changed everything. The lawyer advised we create a settlement and mutual release agreement with all four of them, both sisters and their husbands. A lawsuit would likely go in your favor, he explained, but it could take years and cost significant upfront legal fees. There's no guarantee you'd ever collect anything. David, the property manager, estimated repairs would cost around $4,000, mostly for the front door. The middle sister's husband later revealed they could either afford to pay for damages or hire lawyers, but not both. Given their lack of defense for their actions, they chose to make things right. The settlement included a no-contact clause. If either party encounters the other, whoever arrived last must leave immediately. All communication must go through attorneys or mutually agreed upon third parties. They get to keep whatever they made from renting the vacation house, my concession, unless I face tax consequences, which would be their responsibility. Most importantly, the agreement includes what's essentially a civil restraining order. We can't discuss most of the details, but the key point is that this nightmare might finally be over. Looking back at this whole ordeal, I realize our family dynamics have fundamentally changed. I've only told my parents that we're working things out, nothing more. They may not be happy with how things stand, but I had to prioritize what's best for Olivia and me. The agreement essentially formalizes the no-contact situation we've been living with for months. While it's not what my parents hoped for, I'm at peace with it. My sisters have probably given them their slanted version of events, but that's just one more obstacle I'll have to navigate. This wasn't my sister's first display of entitlement, but it was certainly the most extreme. We used to be okay, never close, but not enemies either. The resentment started when I bought my first property at 25, before either of them owned homes, despite being older and in relationships. The tension escalated when I met Olivia. They couldn't handle that she came from a wealthy family, especially since I was already doing well in my tech career. They accused us of being elitist. After our wedding, when I moved in with Olivia near her fellowship location and sold my place, their pettiness increased. The profit from selling my first property, combined with our frugal lifestyle and not having a mortgage, enabled me to buy the vacation home for my parents. They agreed to keep my ownership secret, knowing my sisters would assume I was using Olivia's money. I wasn't. We keep most of our finances separate. Until this disaster, I thought we were managing okay despite our differences. While our daily lives were very different, and I couldn't pretend to enjoy their company for more than a few hours, I never thought they actually hated me. I knew they'd become entitled, but I didn't realize just how far they'd go. My only hope now is that I never hear from them again. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do for your family is to maintain your distance, a lesson I've learned the hard way.